Yo, what's up guys, it's ApTreX here. Today in this video we'll be taking a look at Citron Nintendo Switch Emulator, one of the biggest updates in terms of Nintendo Switch emulation on Android, Mac OS, Linux and Windows. Now if you guys remember, then Citron was officially the best Nintendo Switch emulator early 2025, but due to some controversies this project had been entirely stopped working on. But finally this emulator is back. Citron, the Nintendo homebrew emulator, you guys can see it. Some of its features are high performance, user friendly, cross-platform homebrew support, and the latest Citron emulator version was version 0.7 complete rewrite, where you guys can see previously the developer was accused of using AI for writing codes in Citron emulator, but now you guys can see this release represents a complete ground up rewrite of the Citron emulator by the main developer, and this is 100% original work. No AI assistance was used. Some of the major implementations are complete Vulkan rendering and many other internal stuff for improved compatibility, bug fixes and performance. Now people are saying that they are getting more compatibility in the Citron emulator even than that of Eden Nintendo Switch emulator, and sometimes even the performance is better on Citron emulator by 4-5 FPS compared to Eden emulator. FSR2 has also been implemented, but it is half-baked and may not work very well. Here are some of the expected bugs. So game compatibility regression, some games may not work, performance inconsistencies within emulators if we compare it, UI UX bugs etc. Small bugs which will always be there in any emulator is present. Now before you add the new version of Citron emulator, I recommend you guys to remove the old or previous version of Citron emulator just for namesake, so you guys can freshly experience the brand new version of Citron emulator. When you open it for the first time, you will see the UI is similar to that what it used to be previously. Only the internal stuff has been rewritten for better compatibility, performance, and basically the Citron emulator is alive once again. So as usual, you will need to import all the necessary Nintendo Switch stuff that is required to run this emulator. We'll also be trying out a new title, Xenoblade Chronicles X, inside the Citron emulator, and immediately I can see a brand new feature right here. Below there is an grid layout as well as list layout. This is also a brand new UI component feature of this emulator, and do remember that Eden emulator was a continuation of Citron from a different developer. This is actually looking pretty nice. Let's go to settings and apply all the best settings that we use inside Nintendo Switch emulators. Now you guys can also see there is an secret setting option known as Zep Zone, which is similar to Eden's Veil which we get in Eden emulator. Let's go to system settings. Limit speed percentage, make sure to set it to 400. In terms of graphics, go to resolution. Make sure to set the resolution scaling to 0.75x on any device, but if you have a low-end Android device, go with 0.5x resolution. VSync mode should be mailbox. FSR 2.0 quality mode, so this is the brand new feature, fidelity super resolution. Performance provides better performance, so here we'll need to set it to performance or ultra performance depending on your device. If you have a low-end device, go with ultra performance, but this might be glitchy as the developer has already mentioned. In terms of aspect ratio, enable stretch to window, enable this shader cache, force maximum clocks as well as asynchronous shaders. Once that has been done, in audio you can turn off the output engine if you want better performance, but that's about it in terms of best settings. Go to the Zep Zone and let's find out what are the settings here. We have memory layout which we can increase, but as you can see, if we increase then the emulation can become unstable or unsafe. So I'll keep it as default. Afterwards, ASTC decoding is CPU. We can set it to CPU asynchronous, so let's try it out for today's video. If you do face any issues though, it is recommended that you roll back the settings. In terms of VRAM mode, we'll set it to aggressive. Frame skipping has been disabled, though frame skipping is an option which skips frames to maintain performance when the system cannot keep up with the target frame rate. So this is actually a very useful feature. You can enable frame skipping and set the frame skipping mode to adaptive, so you don't have to manually frame skip. I recommend you guys to turn on this option, but if you face some performance issues then turn it off. But yeah, those are the best settings. You can also check out applets on Android. There isn't anything that you need to change here, so we'll simply go back. And if you also import firmware, you can try out the applet launcher feature. So let me do that. I'll go to manage Citron data and import my firmware. Now that the firmware has been imported successfully, let's tap on applet launcher, and unfortunately this is a bit of disappointment. QLaunch is not here. I personally am a big fan of QLaunch inside the Eden emulator, so I only wish that QLaunch would be added in Citron emulator. I am pretty sure that the developer will implement it in future. But one thing which I am seeing right here is the multiplayer feature not being available in Citron emulator. As far as I remember, I think multiplayer was an unique feature implemented in Citron emulator, but that is carried forward to Eden. Regardless, we'll go to the game section and let's try out Xenoblade Chronicles X. Let's go to Citron emulator once again and try out our favorite game, which is Pokemon Sword. But before doing that, we'll import a save file just so that we can launch our game without any issues. Now that the save file is imported successfully, go back and launch the game, and you guys can see it's still crashing, which means there is an setting that I enabled that is causing the crashing issues. I think Citron Emulator didn't work on Snapdragon 8 Elite processor Android devices. This was a real bug. But still, I'll try one thing. I'll reset all the settings to default to see if it fixes that. Now that I have reset all the settings, let's try out some games, and this time you guys can see our game has actually booted. So at the top left corner, you will be able to see there is some performance graph that is provided by the Citron Emulator. Now here you guys can see Xenoblade Chronicles X has started, but it has some graphical issues that is not related to the emulator. It is related to the device that I am using, Realme GT7 Pro with Snapdragon 8 Elite. Now here you guys can see the game's cutscene has started. Afterwards we'll see the loading screen. There we go, our game has successfully started. Now unfortunately it needs some shader compilation and other stuff. Only because of the Snapdragon 8 Elite processor, it does not have a turnip graphics driver support. Now unfortunately, if I change any settings in terms of graphics etc, the emulator would just crash, so I can't even change it. And here the game begins. As you will be able to see, there are some graphical issues here and there, and that's because of my device, not because of the Citron emulator. So even new games like Xenoblade Chronicles X work inside the Citron Nintendo Switch emulator for Android. Though if I was testing this game out on a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 or 8 Gen 2, I would see proper graphical output. Anyways, that's going to be it for today's video because the performance is actually pretty amazing, stable 30 FPS. My device is not heating up that much. You can also check out the FPS graph towards the top left corner of your screen. There is very minimal stuttering issues, but obviously as this has Snapdragon 8 Elite, we'll see the best performance possible. If you want me to test it out on low-end Android devices such as with Mali GPU or low-end Snapdragon processors, then do let me know in the comment section down below. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.